Hello, hello. It's time. It's finally time to do even more UI. And this time, we're gonna look at a game. I haven't beat the game. It's a game that I wanted to show you guys. It's CrossCode.
Fuck.
So, I want to cover three main things today. I want to show you guys how to animate a UI component just like they do in CrossCode. I want to show you guys how to use canvas layers to position your UI relative to your character without UI components getting moved around. And finally, using panel containers to create reusable, expandable UI components that will grow with the size of whatever's inside them. Hopefully I can make it to the end, so stick with me here. Alright, isn't that kind of cool, guys? The way this panel opens up, it's as if it starts from the center and it scales up, right? Yeah, I also like this too. We see a bunch of these components showing a very simple animation that makes this feel so much better. It uses the same scaling that the other panels were using on the title screen. So maybe we can try to work this out here. Alrighty guys, so this right here is my recreation of CrossCode's settings UI. If I press my home button, then it toggles this screen right here. And I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like as I scale this down and up. It looks something like that, right? That part of it we're not going to go into. You can check out how I made this at the very end of the video. It's very simple stuff, all built around the foundations that I've already talked about in a previous video. Otherwise, you can just skip it. So now what I want to show you guys is I want to take one of these panels right here and try to make that animation just like we saw in CrossCode. Okay, so let me take one of these. Where is it? It's inside this VBox container. It's this texture rect. So I'm going to copy this, Control C, and then I'm going to go click the settings and paste it in so that it's just the child of the settings. And it's right here, this texture rect. And I'm going to bring it over on center so that we can start to play around with it. We've got a couple big issues that we're going to have to work through, but first let's do the easy stuff. How the animation worked? What I'm thinking is it's just the scale property. It's a one-dimensional effect just by modulating one property. And so if I can find it, is it layout, transform, scale right here? If I click this right here and I move my mouse horizontally left to right, it'll do something like this, right? But I just want to set it back at 1. That's what happens when this is highlighted. When the lock component ratio is on, it scales both x and y. But what I want to do is I don't want to do x and y, I just want to do y probably. And look at that, guys. This is exactly what that effect was, right? It's a one-dimensional change in just the y scaling. And how about that other one on the title screen where it looked as if it came out from center? For that, we're going to use the pivot offset, and I'm going to make it half of the size of this UI component, which is instead of 32, I'm going to put 16. You're going to take a note where this cross is right here. Now it should be on center, right? So if I change the Y scaling, it scales from the center instead. So it's right here and it scales all the way up to 1. So when we're looking at animating UI components, there's two things I usually look at. I have to make a choice between using an animation player or using a tween. And for this case, I know I want to have the same animation for a bunch of these components. And so in that case, usually I'm thinking a tween because the tween is going to live inside a script. And then with the script, you can easily throw into different nodes. I could have a script for this one that opens up scaling Y from a bottom or top position. And then maybe for this one, I can have a separate script or maybe the same one with a different style. And it scales from the center. So let's try to get that working then. I'm going to go over to this texture rect right here. And I know that what I have is I've got a texture rect and I've got a color rect that I want to animate as well. So I'm just going to create a script for a control node because these inherit from control. So let's do this. I want to call it Y-scale tween. Delete that. I'm going to change this from texture rect to control. Extends control. And then I'm going to do initialize. function ready, pass. Tween variables. I'm gonna do var tween of type tween, just to initialize it. And then for here, I'm gonna do function yscale. Void pass. Animate yscale. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do, and then I'm gonna run this function on the ready. We're gonna do tween equals create tween. Start the tween by using the property function, property, tween property, this one right here. And then we're gonna have to feed it a bunch of arguments. It's gonna ask for an object that we're gonna tween. We're gonna tween self. And then the property that we're gonna tween is going to be scale. Scale. Okay, I don't remember how to properly call this. So let's try this first. And then I'm just gonna go to 0 with the duration of 5 seconds. So let's run it real quick just to see what it looks like. I have to press the home button real quick because it starts right away. And we're gonna notice that it starts shrinking. Because the pivot offset isn't changed, it's centered. All right, so the next thing to do, I'm going to change the function name from animate yscale to animate initialize. And then I'm gonna delete this function inside the ready function, and I'm just gonna put pass. I'm gonna go over to the texture rect. I'm gonna go hit the inspector, go over to the node tab, go from signals to groups, and then I'm going to create a group, animations, initialize. I don't know actually, it could be initialize, it could be animations, it could be anything. Okay, so I've added a scene group, it's called initialize. I'm gonna make sure that this is actually inside the group. So, yep, it looks like I created the group. We're setting up the group so that we can call everything inside the group to run this function all at once. So I've got this one right here, but say I want to also do it to this color rect right here. So I'm gonna throw in my new script right here. It's this yscale tween, and I'm throwing it into color rect 2. And then I'm also going to check the initialize scene group, and then going over to YouTube settings inside this script. Okay, so right here, I'm gonna do if settings dot visible is true. Then we're gonna run a function animation initialize. Void pass. It looks like it's call group, but we have to use get tree dot call group. Okay, let's try this out. Group initialize string, right? And then the function that we're initializing is this method string name. Is it gonna work? I don't know actually. Oh wow, it does work. Huh, that's cool. And it only works once. Okay, so we can fix that. Let's make sure that it resets properly. I think we can fix this by changing the scale. Whenever we call this function, we're just gonna go scale equals vector 2, because that's what it is, and we're just gonna go back to 1, 1. So just to confirm my theory is correct, pressing home, it starts to scale, and then, okay. So it wasn't exactly what I was thinking. And the reason for that is because the tween has been created, it is still going. So we can take it one step further, and if we go if kill, if tween dot kill, which is kind of brutal, but, and we run it, press home, it starts, press home, it starts again. So it looks like it resets properly. I'm gonna make sure it completes, and then I'm gonna press home again, and it starts. The next thing for us to do is to take a look at the overall scene again inside 2D and check out why this is a little bit tricky. Part of the reason why these control nodes are so helpful, this vertical box, so useful, but the thing is when you start to put things into containers that control spacing and sizing, you no longer are able to scale components or control these aspects. So if you see right here, I'm trying to modify this property by clicking and dragging, but I can't. strictly because we got these texture rects inside the VBox. At the very start, I copied this and I pasted it into settings. Right here, it doesn't have a vertical box as a parent, so I can freely change the size, I can freely change the scale. So we just have to give it another container, which is what we're going to use a control for. So if I have a control node, I'm just going to create one willy-nilly, and let's see, I'm going to throw the texture rect in. The control node is flat. I want it to take the shape of the texture rect, so this control node, I'm going to give it the same size as this texture rect, which is 62 and 32. 62 and 32, so I'm going to go over to the layout. I'll do 62 and 32 for the minimum size, and that will make this pop up right here. I'm going to go ahead and delete these other two, and so it's just this one right here. And I'm going to duplicate this like that. So now I've got three components that I cannot control the sizing of. These properties are locked out for me. But what happens is I can actually use my script that I created for this texture rect right here. So I'm going to go over. You're going to see I changed the name of it because I'm here from the future. I went down the wrong path when I was doing this. So it's the same thing. This is the same script. Make sure you guys have the same stuff written in the script. It's just that mine is called 2, and I have a lot more experience now. I'm throwing this into texture rect. Let's run it. Oh no, oh no. Okay, so that didn't work because of a very simple thing that we have to toggle. We have to make sure it's part of the group, right? Okay. Scared me for a second. Alrighty, alrighty. That's what we like to see. Okay, so it still controls the spacing of it, of the element. And now we just want to do this for the rest of this. So I'm going to throw this in here as well as this one. And now I'm going to go make sure that these are in the groups as well. I'm going to change the animation so that it happens in half a second. And let's run it. Yo, look at that, guys. That's what I'm talking about. So now let's get the animation flipped so it goes the right direction. So it's happening from this top left corner. We're going to have to fix this pivot offset. So inside here, pivot offset to 32. Cool. This texture, now that it's no longer the direct child of the VBox container, we get to change this to 32. And this one as well, layout, transform, 32. And the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that we're scaling properly. So it's going to be from 0 to 1, right? So it's going to be from 0, and we're going to go up to 1. Save that. Run it one more time. Let's freaking go, guys. That's what I'm talking about. I hope you guys enjoyed the first part of this video. There's going to be 2 more parts to this, so hopefully you guys tune in for the rest of it. For the remainder of this video, it's going to be how I created the initial scene. It's pretty basic stuff, but it's there for the people that need it. So you guys take care, have a wonderful start of your year. 2026, here we come. Peace. Alright guys, let's get into Godot. I'm going to show you my project settings really quick just so you guys don't have to copy this. It's just as a reference if you guys need. So I've got 320 by 180, windowed, center of primary screen, resizable off. I've got the window width, window height override, 1280 720. I'm using canvas items with keep, scale of 1, scale mode integer. Let's create a new scene. So I'm actually going to select other node right here, and I'm going to select node. And what I'm going to create as a child of this is I'm going to create a canvas layer. I'm doing this so we don't have to backtrack nearly as much later as we start to integrate the system. Looking at the 2D, this is what our scene looks like now. Node canvas layer. let's just replicate what CrossCode was doing here. So I'm going to throw a vertical box right here in this corner and another vertical box in this corner as well. So let's start with the canvas layer. I'm selecting that and I'm going to hit Control A and I'm going to add a control node. This right here, this control node. I'm going to go pretty fast, guys, because I feel like I'm going to be running out of time in this video. We want to make this full rect so it takes the shape of the entire screen. And then I'm going to go over to mouse input and I'm going to set it to ignore so that it doesn't block any mouse input. Because this screen right here is going to be the settings screen, I'm just going to call it that as well. Settings. Now let's throw this first vertical box in. I'm going to press Control A and then type in VBox container. And then I'm going to select this on the bottom left corner. And I'm also going to create another VBox container. And this one I'm going to set on the bottom right. So now for this vertical box container 2, I'm going to select that and I'm going to create a texture rect inside it. Texture rect, like that. And then I'm going to throw in, let's see, I'm going to right click over here actually, and I'm going to do Atlas texture because I need to cut the actual sprite sheet that I have. I'm throwing in my sprite sheet, hitting edit region, and selecting the part of the texture that I want to show, which is just this panel right here. Just like that. And so if I click the VBox container, I get to see what the VBox roughly looks like right now. So I'm going to call this texture rect 1. And now I'm going to duplicate this. 1, 2. Okay, so going over to the VBox container 2, we can look at the theme overrides. We can change up the separation if we need to. See something that looks better for us. I think separation of 1 looks pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is inside one of these, I'm going to hit Control A and throw in a label. I'm going to throw in some text as well, like resume game. And then for this label, I'm going to go over to theme overrides, to the font size, select this. I'm going to bring this down to about 8 or so. For the label as well, I'm going to go to the anchor presets and hit full, and then see if I can center this like this. Like that. I want to run this, but before I run it, I have to save it. So let me Control S, and then you guys throw it wherever you guys need. I'm going to create a new folder in my prototypes. I'm calling this YouTube UI, okay? It's not, you guys don't call it that, but that's what it's going to be for me. Okay, so then because we changed the name of the scene, I'm going to change this properly to YouTube UI like this. Yo guys, it looks like I messed up already, but it's a good thing you guys get to see it. So these texture rects, they shouldn't be texture rects, they're texture buttons that we need. So I'm going to show you guys. We can just right click this and change type. Sometimes this works better with search and control nodes, sometimes it doesn't. You don't want to catch this too late into the game, otherwise you have to backtrack a bit and redo some of the work, but sometimes it works out okay. In this case, I don't think it's going to work out, but yeah. Our texture rect did become a texture button, but we're not holding onto the texture that we had before. You know what? I'm just going to delete these, and I'm going to call this texture button as it should be. And now right here, I'm just going to do this real quick. Same deal. It's the same Atlas texture with the same panel. So okay, got the texture button with the label. I'm going to duplicate this now. Perfect. And yo, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. It looks just like the crosscode, right? Let's do the other side now. So for this side, actually, I'm going to reorder the node. So I'm going to select settings. I'm going to create a scroll container. For the scroll container, I'm going to position this on the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the VBox container into the scroll container. So it looks like this and this, right? I'm just going to reorder it real quick. Inside the VBox container, I'm also going to create, this time it's going to be a texture rect for sure. So I'm going to do texture rect like that. Right click here, Atlas texture, expand that. I'm throwing the same thing again and seeing what I want to throw in. This time I'm going to choose this. Cool. Cool, cool. And then let's also duplicate this. Boom, boom. And I want to see what's going on. So obviously something's happening right here, right? The VBox container is pretty shrunk. I'm seeing both scroll bars for the horizontal and the vertical, which means there's a bit of a spacing issue. So let's see what we can do here. First of all, we can just throw this up like this, and this will kind of fix what we're looking at. Maybe something like this, right? And then for the vertical box container, we can also adjust the spacing. So theme overrides, reduce the spacing, scroll container. Let's see, let's shrink this up so that for the default look, we're gonna be able to show 3 panels at once. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this texture rect right here, and I'm gonna throw in a HBox container. And then I'm gonna make this full rect inside here. And inside the HBox container, I'm gonna add a texture rect. Just like that. And also a label. So now let's see what this looks like. Inside the label, I'm just gonna type in test text. And I'm gonna go over to theme overrides. Font size, I'm gonna go to something small like 4. And then texture rect, I'm gonna do, let's see, monsters. Yep, I'm gonna go to Atlas texture right here, open this up. I'm gonna throw this in, edit the region, and I'm gonna grab this one right here. Cool. And I don't want it to scale, so I'm just gonna do keep right here. The HBox container is sized like this. Maybe it shouldn't be the size of this. Maybe it should be something else. But because this is what it is, let's see if we can make it just look a little bit nicer. Let's see, theme, layout, container sizing, vertical, shrink center. There we go. The reason it looks a little scuffed is because I missed a line of pixels right here. Yeah, inside the texture rect, not at the HBox level, inside the child level, inside container sizing, you can change how it fills inside of this. So I changed it to shrink center, and now it looks kind of like this, right? But realistically, if you had a problem with the spacing, you would use a margin container inside the mix, and that'll help you adjust either the HBox sizing or the child sizing. And so now I'm just going to copy the HBox container. I'll throw it into these ones as well. And did I miss another line of pixels? I am really bad at this because I'm going way too fast. Because it is a HBox container, you can also change up the spacing if you would like inside theme overrides. I'm going to keep it at 4. Save that, run it really quick, and yo, it's basically CrossCode. And the final thing I want to do is I actually want to rename this scene. So YouTube, it's going to be settings, not UI, unfortunately. So now it's going to be YouTube settings, and I'm going to right click this, show in file system. And it's this right here. I'm going to right click this, and then I'm going to rename this as YouTube settings. Just like this. So snake case and then Pascal case right here. All right, so I said final, but we have more stuff to do. I changed up the text right here. I messed around with some of the label settings. I got it working pretty good. And then I changed the text for these to be a little bit more nice looking. And what I realized I needed to do was I wanted to add a dark background to this. So I'm gonna do color rect, which is another control node. And this one I'm gonna do to full rect. And you're going to notice it sits above everything. So I'm going to reorder it back to the top. And then for the color rect color, I'm going to go over here, and then I'm going to bring this down all the way to black. And what I want to do is I want to decrease the alpha to maybe about, you're going to have to test it out to see what looks pretty good for me. I think 142 is pretty good. And if you look at CrossCode's version, it looks like a CRT effect, some kind of shader that you can pull off the internet. And this stops mouse input, so that's perfect as well. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is this scroll container. To make sure we have everything, I want to go to the scroll container, go over to vertical scroll mode, and I want this to always show. By doing that, I'm going to realize that my scroll container is actually a little bit too small, and so I should size it out. just a little bit like this, right? And so what this is going to do is it's going to always show this scroll bar, and it doesn't look like what CrossCode is using, but actually it's very similar because what they did in CrossCode is they just replaced the theme of this, which is out of the scope for this video, but if you manage by going to the scroll container theme right here and then filling in your own theme, you can have this replaced with just a picture, which is how CrossCode does it, and then you can animate that picture. So I added this color rect 2 in this label right here so that I could have a more similar UI style. And also I'm gonna throw in one more of those. I'm just gonna duplicate this, Control D, and then I'm gonna shrink, replace this text with tasks, and then I'm gonna shrink this down maybe like here or so and bring it up. Shrink this as well, like this, bring it down a little bit more, bring this out a little bit more, like here or so. So then it's just a color rect with a label inside, another color rect with a label inside. And for the color rect, all the way down to black, and then a little bit of transparency using the alpha right here. And so the last thing I want to do for this area, for this scene, is I want to add a script so that when I bring it up, this area is good for me, so that when I actually run this, that it shows me exactly what I want. And because this is inside my game, it shows a lot of the extra stuff, so I'm gonna have to hide it in my code. So let's get straight to it. I want to do function ready, pass this, for YouTube, and then this is for you guys right here. So we're gonna hide the settings, but what we want to do is we want to reference the settings. We can't just hide the settings, we need to have it linked. So control, click and drag. And then right here, we're gonna do settings.hide, which will toggle off the visibility when we start the scene. So kind of like this, right? We have a blank scene. And now what we want to do is we want to listen to an input so that when we press a button, it's gonna bring up our settings. So for that, we're gonna use function input, and it's going to receive an event, an input event. So if event, or if event is action pressed, and then I'm gonna do UI home. Home. Okay. Sweet. You guys use whatever button you want to use. You can use escape. I already have escape bound in my game, so I can't use that one. So UI home, then I'm gonna do settings.visible equals settings.visible. So this is just a simple one line to toggle between the visible states. If it's not visible, then it will become visible. If it is visible, then it will become not visible just by pressing this one button right here. So let's run it real quick just to see how it looks. I press home. Yo, let's go. This is CrossCode, yo. Perfect, perfect. Let's comment it out, read inputs. And then this one right here is initialization. And then right here is going to be node references. And then right here, eventually we're gonna make this a singleton. So this is going to be our YouTube settings singleton. It's not a singleton yet though.